Really? Really?
Convicted after getting arrested during a 2019 partnership between police and the state attorney's office. The campaign looked at social media and YouTube videos to find convicted felons showing off guns and other weapons.
Yes, sir.
And you've watched that?
Yes, sir.
Did you recognize the shooter?
Yes, sir.
Who was the shooter in that video?
Hakeem Robinson.
Your son, Hakeem Robinson.
Yes, sir.
This is Jamel Demons, better known as YNW Melly. He is facing charges related to a double homicide that happened back in 2018. His trial began on June 12th and has since drawn significant attention from fans and the media.
On the YNW Melly case, he's the South Florida rapper on trial right now for the murders of his two friends, Chris Williams Jr. Chris Thomas Jr., I should say, and Anthony Williams. Back in October of 2018, they went by YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser.
In October 2018, it is said that Melly shot and killed two of his friends and fellow rappers, Anthony Williams, known as YNW Sack Chaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., known as YNW Juvie. He then tried to make it look like a drive-by shooting had occurred by manipulating the crime scene. The case has received a lot of attention before the trial, with Complex conducting a detailed analysis of court documents related to the case and a podcast partnered with Spotify. The bodies of the two men were discovered, both having been shot and killed. Melly's co-defendant, Cortland Henry, also known as YNW Bortland, arrived at the hospital with the bodies in his car, claiming that they were all victims of a drive-by shooting. However, the evidence suggests that this was not a genuine drive-by shooting, but rather a staged one, where the shots were actually fired from inside the vehicle. Prosecutors allege that Melly was the one who fired the shots and took care to exit the car before Henry arrived at the hospital.
What are we seeing on the screen right now?
So this is the sidewalk portion I was telling you about. Immediately on the bottom left corner of the screen with those white dashes, that's where the cars drive through. Those dashes are for them to see pedestrians just walking across into the yard. Then there's a sidewalk portion, and these are the two doors of the ER. The left door on the left side of the video is the ER, the adult entrance, and the right is the pediatric entrance, but it's one big area. And then in the middle is the park bench. Right behind that glass is a security desk. I'm sitting in the middle of both of those doors.
And that subject that we see in the video,
That's the gentleman that the person made.
continuing to publish?
You can later see the staff putting on gloves to check the alleged victim's pulse in the car.
I'm putting on gloves to check for a pulse.
In just the matter of minutes, the video becomes blurry due to the fact that it's being played in court, but you can see some people carrying out stretchers and then taking them back into the hospital. The prosecution emphasized that the defendant was associated with a gang called G Shine Bloods. It's important to remember that there's a lot at stake in this case because Melly could face the death penalty if found guilty. Previously, a unanimous vote from the jury was required to impose the death penalty, but the law has since changed in Florida. Now, only an 8-4 vote by the jury is needed for the death penalty to be imposed. There has been a lot of anticipation regarding how YNW Melly will respond to the accusations against him, and it's reasonable to believe that he could succumb to the pressure and struggle to handle it. When the trial started on June 12, 2023, Melly walked into the courtroom with a positive attitude, sporting a wide smile. Once he took his seat, he covered his face to say a prayer and then blew a kiss into the air.
Really? Really?
While the trial was underway, the prosecutor, Bradley, presented his arguments, but Melly seemed uninterested. He played with his pen and looked around the courtroom, seemingly observing the people present. Some individuals interpreted this behavior as a sign of guilt, but it can be perceived as anxiety. It's worth mentioning that the rapper has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which makes it difficult for him to concentrate, especially in a controlled setting like a courtroom.
Yeah, I am. And,
So you are bipolar.
and ADHD.
Damn. So when you were coming up, did they like put you on Ritalin and shit?
Hell yeah, when I got like
That's
the first time, a year
crazy.
straight.
So you was on like Addies and shit?
3 months straight, Adderall, baby.
Yo, that's crazy. Cause Adderall is like legit meth.
Yeah, for real.
That's
why
the
I
thing.
said I ain't doing it no
You could
more.
do Adderall and like you could literally have the most productive week of your life.
Despite facing these obstacles, the prosecution persisted in its efforts. They decided to bring one of Melly's ex-girlfriend's mothers as a witness to testify. To everyone's surprise, she made an unexpected claim that she had been threatened with imprisonment by the prosecution. As a result, the judge dismissed her as a witness and deemed the jury influenced or biased.
Served with a subpoena in
Never.
February of 2019.
You never served me. You served at your location. I didn't live at anymore.
Do you recall coming to the courthouse in February of 2019?
Objection beyond the scope.
Anything about the courthouse in 2019.
During the trial on June 28th, the witness stand welcomed crime scene detective Sergeant Christopher Williams, reporting evidence. This testimony holds significant weight as it aims to disprove Melly's original claim of a drive-by shooting being responsible for the fatalities.
It is part of my assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive-by shooting. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by shooting.
The case is still ongoing, and it's unclear at this point what's going to happen to YNW Melly. However, he could be facing a death sentence, which is the worst outcome this case could end up having.
Convicted after getting arrested during a 2019 partnership between police and the state attorney's office. The campaign looked at social media and YouTube videos to find convicted felons showing off guns and other weapons.
This is Y&R Mookie, a then 23-year-old Florida-based artist who received a 10-year sentence after being convicted on a possession of a firearm charge. Y&R Mookie's real name is Tyler Jackson. The sentence and the trial that came before it gained significant national attention, primarily because music videos were used as evidence during the court proceedings.
Here, he was absolutely confident that this is a real firearm and meets the definition of Florida statutes. And it's because not only of the quality of the video, it's because of this specific type of firearm.
During the sentencing hearing, Charbula expressed his shock and disapproval of the content and direction of the music videos. He indirectly referred to the defense argument that the videos were a form of creative expression and should not be considered in this context, stating that while they may have had artistic elements, that was not their intended purpose.
And Mr. Jackson, I watched the music videos, and I have to say that I'm appalled at the content of them, at the direction. But one thing that really sticks out is Mr. Jackson is a talented young man that could do anything he wanted with his life if he made the right choices.
Jackson, who was credited for 739 days he had previously served, also had an opportunity to address the court. He wanted to express that he never meant to be a bad role model to anyone.
I want to express that I am not the person that the state is trying to make me out to be by any means. I am not a violent person. I don't have any violent charges or a violent criminal background. I'm not no gang member, nor have I ever been a gang member or been guilty by association to any gangs. I have no criminal history as an adult, and I do my best not to have any encounters with the law enforcement.
It was reported that Jackson had been convicted of possessing a firearm as a juvenile delinquent who had committed a felony. State Attorney Melissa Nelson's press release mentioned a 2018 music video that was alleged to depict several individuals displaying firearms. Jackson's mother, Diane Watts, was quoted in a report from Jacksonville Insider, stating that the firearms in question were actually prop guns. During the sentencing, Jackson himself emphasized that he is an artist and entertainer. He pointed out that the state was focusing on prosecuting his music videos rather than him personally.
I'm an inspiring artist, and I am trying to make a career out of what I love and have a passion for doing, which is music. Music is my craft and how I intend to make my livelihood and should not be taken literally. I am merely an entertainer which gives my fans what they want to see and hear. The state is prosecuting my music videos and not who I am as a person.
They took quite some time just to play his music videos in the court and analyze them deeply.
So that you can hear yourself. Oh, did you just see the 3 down? That's a diss to ATK.
The prosecution initially suggested a sentence of 20 years in prison, which was deemed overly harsh. Eventually, the final decision settled on 7 years of imprisonment, followed by 3 years of probation.
Making the decision that you would be rather associated with a criminal gang and make videos that promote or in furtherance of the criminal gang. So I find that you are a danger to the community. And I find that the only way to protect the community from you is to put you in prison. But I'm not going to put you in prison for 20 years. I'm going to put you in prison for 10. So I'm going to adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 10 years in the Florida Department of Corrections, to be followed by 5 years of probation. And during that period of probation, you'll not associate with any criminal gang members. And you are going to complete the Authentic Manhood program. I'll give you credit for 739 days. And court cost in the amount of, tell you what, I'm going to waive your court costs.
You said I seen him what?
A murder.
You sure?
Mm-hmm. There's video all through there.
Well, I didn't tell you about that.
What's your rap name?
Okay, Shorty.
K Shorty. I find you on YouTube.
Probably not no major videos, but I just like do a lot of Instagram videos.
Instagram videos, you show up on like World Star or anything?
This is Shorty, whose real name is Therese Powell. The Jacksonville rapper has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for a gun possession charge. Powell will spend 12 years in prison for the incident that occurred on August 3, 2020, when the Jacksonville police responded to reports of an ongoing shooting at a convenience store located on Norfolk Boulevard in the 9300 block. Upon their arrival, the officers discovered Powell in a nearby vacant lot, suffering from a gunshot wound to his leg. Approximately 70 yards away from Powell, law enforcement recovered an AR-15 rifle. During their investigation, they also found spent shell casings from the firearm in close proximity. Additionally, a hoodie sweatshirt with eye holes in the hood, which could be used as a mask when worn in reverse, was discovered at the scene. Further analysis revealed that Powell's DNA was present on both the rifle and the sweatshirt. Based on this evidence, investigators concluded that Powell had been firing the rifle during the shootout. As a result, in February 2021, he was charged with the possession of a firearm as a felon involved in gang-related activities. Last month, a jury from Duval County deliberated for slightly over an hour before reaching a guilty verdict on the charges against Powell. One of the key pieces of evidence presented by the prosecution was the lyrics of Powell's song titled "On Yo Ass." Prosecutors argued that the song accurately depicted the events that took place during the incident. Before his sentencing, Powell spoke to Circuit Court Judge Anthony Salem and referred to him as "Send 'em Home Salem," a nickname he is known by among inmates in the jail.
The question was it true that they call you "Send 'em Home Salem"? In the jailhouse.
I'm sorry, say what?
In the jailhouse, they call you "Send 'em Home Salem."
Send 'em home Salem?
I guess.
Okay.
It's a termination as you send people home a lot. And basically, a lot of people want you as a judge for when it comes to sentencing because they feel like you're fair. And I was kind of like praying that was true. So that's why I said I was grateful to have you as a judge. I don't feel like in your heart that you would sentence me 15 years for possession of a firearm, and I'm not a convicted felon.
Prior to receiving his sentence, Powell addressed Judge Salem and asserted that he was not a bad individual. The rapper shared that he believed his actions were influenced by the environment in which he grew up. He recounted witnessing several incidents of violence, including the tragic loss of his girlfriend's life.
That they saw they would do something to just to harm them. And I was shot, my girlfriend was killed. And it was downhill from there.
Powell was initially facing a 15-year sentence. However, before issuing the final verdict, Judge Salem took into consideration Powell's previous criminal record. One of the key pieces of evidence that contributed to Powell's conviction was a rap video he had created, which the prosecutors argued was a clear admission of guilt.
Whereas, Mr. Poe, you were found guilty by jury of your peers for the charge of possession of a firearm by a juvenile delinquent. You are adjudicated guilty of that charge. You're sentenced to 12 years Florida State Prison with 546 days credits. You have $518 in court costs. There is a $50 PD application lien. I will sign an order, appoint the public defender's office to represent you on appeal if your attorney files a notice of appeal in that regard.
We're now getting a look at the moment a Jacksonville rapper found out he was charged with first-degree murder. First Coast News has obtained the interrogation video of Hakeem Robinson, also known as Queso.
This is Hakeem Robinson, a Jacksonville rapper known as Xu, who was accused in 2 different murders. He made his appearance in Duval County Court.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Robinson. If you will look on that big screen to your left, you see your attorneys, Mr. DeCoste and Ms. Kawas, in the bottom squares.
Yes, ma'am.
Robinson, who is 23 years old, entered a plea of not guilty for 2 distinct charges of committing first-degree murder while being a member of a gang. The allegations against Robinson involved the shooting incidents that resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals, Adrian Gaynor, who was 16 years old at the time, in 2019, and rapper Charles McCormick Jr., who was 23 years old, in 2020. Christopher DeCoste, who is Robinson's lawyer, informed the judge that they have received the results of a body scan that Robinson underwent at the state's request. According to DeCoste, the scan indicated that Robinson cannot be ruled out as a suspect in McCormick's death.
Yeah, we're going to be out there doing some paperwork. You do have a warrant for your arrest.
We have a warrant for your arrest for murder today.
What?
Yes.
For what?
You want your lawyer, so I can't tell you no more, but you'll be in trouble.
What the hell?
DeCoste expressed that the obtained information aligns with their argument and is being analyzed. According to Robinson's legal team, they hold the belief that he does not resemble the individual described as the shooter in the photograph provided. According to records, McCormick was fatally shot at a shopping center on Merrill Road in January 2020. Investigators discovered that a witness's dashcam video captured the incident. The state claims that the video reveals an individual approaching McCormick while carrying an assault rifle and shooting him multiple times, resulting in his death. However, the shooter's face is not visible in the footage. Subsequently, Robinson's body scan data was compared to the data extracted from the dashcam video. The state argues that the body scan could mathematically determine the shooter's actual height.
In the McCormick case, Robinson's attorneys say he does not fit the description of the shooter seen in this picture. His attorneys sent News4Jax a statement following his new charges saying the government can invite defendants to appear before the grand jury. Mr. Robinson, however, wasn't invited because the government knows that had he walked into the room, the grand jurors would have quickly realized Mr. Robinson cannot be the small-statured shooter in the video.
Where things got messy, though, is when Robinson's own father snitched on him. He just accused his own son of a murder. It's important to point out that his father, Abdul Robinson, has been identified as a local leader of a violent gang.
If you would please raise your right hand. Mr. Robinson, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah, the story. It's on the story saying that kill and get the toes done.
And was that depicting Hakeem Robinson?
Say what?
Did that, you said it was on the story, was that like Instagram story?
Yeah, Instagram story.
And was that something that was posted by Hakeem Robinson?
Yes, sir.
When you saw that, were you upset?
Yes, sir.
Did you try and reach out and speak to Hakeem Robinson?
Yes, sir.
And when you spoke to him, what did you tell him?
I told him he need to take down.
Did he deny being involved when you told him to take that down?
No.
As part of the discovery in this case, you've had an opportunity with your attorney to watch what I'll refer to as a dash cam video, a video that actually recorded the murder of Charles McCormick. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've watched that?
Yes, sir.
Did you recognize the shooter?
Yes, sir.
Who was the shooter in that video?
Hakeem Robinson.
Your son, Hakeem Robinson.
Yes.
His trial is still ongoing, and the result of it remains unclear.